Leviticus 5. Sins requiring a sin offering. If you are called to testify about something you have seen or that you know about, it is sinful to refuse to testify, and you will be punished for your sin. Or suppose you unknowingly touch something that is ceremonially unclean. When you realize what you have done, you must admit your defilement and your guilt. This is true whether it is a wild animal, a domestic animal, or an animal that occurs along the ground. Or suppose you unknowingly touch something that makes a person unclean. When you realize that what you have done, you must admit your guilt. Or suppose you make a foolish vow of any kind, whether it's purpose it's for good or for bad. When you realize its foolishness, you must admit your guilt. When you become aware of your guilt in any of this way, you must confess your sin. Then you must bring to the Lord as the penalty for your sin a female from the flock, either a sheep or a goat. This is sin offering with which the priest will purify from your sin, making you right with the Lord. But if you cannot afford to bring a sheep, you may bring to the Lord 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons as the penalty for your sin. For your sin, one of the birds will be a sin offering, and another for a burnt offering. You must bring them to the priest, who will present the first bird as the sin offering. He will wring its neck but without severing its head from the body. Then he will sprinkle some of the blood of the sin offering against the side of the altar, and the rest of the body will the rest of the blood will be drained out at the base of the altar. This is an offering for sin. The priest will then prepare the second bird as a burnt offering, following all the procedures that have been prescribed. Through this process, the priest will purify from your sin, making you right with the Lord, and will be forgiven. If you cannot afford to bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, you may bring 2 quarts of choice for your sin offering. Since it is an offering for sin, you must not roast it with olive oil or put any frankincense on it. Take the flour to the priest, who will scoop out a handful of repairment portion. He will burn it on the altar on the top of the special gifts presented to the Lord. This is an offering for sin. Through this process, the priest will purify those who are guilty of any of these sins, making them right with the Lord, and they will be forgiven. The rest of the floor will belong to the priest, just as with the grain offering. Procedures for the guilt offering. Then the Lord said to Moses, "If one of you commits a sin unintentionally defiling the Lord's property, you must bring a guilt offering to the Lord. The offering must be your own ram with no defect, or you may buy one of equal value with silver, but as measured by the weight of the sanctuary shekel. You must make restitution for the self-property you have harmed by paying for the loss, plus an additional 20%. If you give the payment to the priest, he will provide, making you right with the Lord, and you will be forgiven. Suppose you sin by violating one of the Lord's command. Even if you're unaware of what have you done, you're guilty and will be punished for your sin. For a guilt offering, you must bring to the priest your own ram with no defect, or you may buy one of equal value. Through this process, the priest will purify you from your unintentional sin, making you right with the Lord, and you will be forgiven. This is a guilt offering for you have been guilty of an offense against the Lord. Leviticus 6. sins requiring a guilt offering. Then the Lord said to Moses, suppose one of you sin against your associate and is unfaithful to the Lord. Suppose you cheat in a deal involving a security deposit, or you steal or commit fraud, or you find lost property and lie about it, or you lie while swearing to tell the truth, or you commit any other such sin. If you have sinned in any of this way, you are guilty. You must give back whatever you stole, or the money you took by extortion, or the security deposit, or the lost property you found, or anything obtained by swearing falsely. You must make restitution by paying the full price plus an additional 20% to the person you have harmed. And the same day, you must present a guilt offering. As a guilt offering to the Lord, you must bring to the priest your own ram with no defect, or you may buy one of the equal value. Through this process, the priest will purify you before the Lord, making you right with him, and you be forgiven for any of these sins you have committed. Further instruction for the burnt offering. Then the Lord said to Moses, give Aaron and his son the following instruction regarding the burnt offering. The burnt offering must be left on top of the altar until the next morning, and the fire on the altar must be kept burning all night. In the morning, after the priest of their duty has put on his official linen clothing and linen undergarment, he must clean up the ashes of the burnt offering and put them beside the altar. Then he must take off this garment, change back into his regular clothes, and that is ceremonially clean. Meanwhile, the fire on the altar must be kept burning. It must never go out. Each morning, the priest will add fresh wood to the fire and arrange all burnt offering on it. He will then burn the fat of the peace offering on it. Remember, the fire must be kept burning on the altar at all times. It must never go out. Further instructions for the grain offering. These are the instructions regarding the grain offerings. Aaron's son must present this offering to the Lord in front of the altar. The priest on duty will take from the grain offering a handful of the choice flour moistened with olive oil together with all the frankincense. He will burn this representative portion on the altar as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. Aaron and his son may eat the rest of the flour, but it must be baked without yeast and eaten in a stark place within the courtyard of the tabernacle. Remember, it must never be prepared with yeast. I have given it to the priests as their share of the special gift presented to me. Like the sin offering and the guilt offering, it is most holy. Any of Aaron's male descendants may eat from the special gift presented to the Lord. This is their permanent derived from generation to generation. Anyone or anything that touches this offering will become holy. Procedures for the ordination offering. Then the Lord said to Moses, on the day Aaron and his son are anointed, ye must present the Lord standard grain offering of 2 quarts of choice flour, half to be offered in the morning and half to be offered in the evening. It must be carefully mixed with olive oil and cooked on a griddle. Then slice this grain offering and present it as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. In each generation, the high priest who succeeds Aaron must prepare this same offering. It belongs to the Lord and must be burned up completely. This is a permanent law, as all such grain offering of a priest must be burned up entirely. No one of it may be eaten. Further instruction for the sin offering. Then the Lord said to Moses, give Aaron and his son the following instruction regarding the sin offering. The animal given as an offering for the sin is a most holy offering, and it must be slaughtered in the Lord's presence at the place where the burnt offering and slaughtered. The priest who offered the sacrifice as a sin offering must eat his portion in a second place within the courtyard of the tabernacle. Anyone or anything that touches the sacrificed meat will become holy. If any of the sacrificial blood splatters on a person's clothing, the soiled garment must be washed in a salt place. If a clay pot is used to boil the sacrificed meat, it must then be broken. If a bronze pot is used, it must be sourced thoroughly risen with water. Any male from the priest's family may not eat from this offering. It is most holy, but the offering for the sin may not be eaten if its blood was brought into the tabernacle as an offering for purification. In the holy place, it must be completely burnt with fire.